lie began from the very beginning of time, right? And I can ask you one question right now. What does history tell you about Africa? Who discovered Africa? If you write right now on Google who discovered Africa, you find out that it's one white man that he came and discovered Africa. And you can ask yourself that how can you discover a place that already exists? How can you discover a place that people already live in that place? It is impossible, but that's what the history tells us. That's what people believe about Africa, that it was discovered by a white man. This guy, he came, and then he went back, he gave a report, and then the next we know is colonialism, because those guys, they sat somewhere to divide Africa like a piece of cake, because they discovered it, they own it, it belonged to them. But that is us. We discovered, we're the first people to know. And today you have a lot of people around the world that they think that Africa was discovered by them.
Here we are again. Good evening, good morning, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to this wonderful and powerful YouTube channel, Swahili Nation, One Africa. First, I'd like to say hello to Mika, our brother, who is in Ethiopia now. He just arrived in Ethiopia. And he has been received as VIP. It was very nice to see. So say hello to all Ethiopian and tell them that I'm also coming around December, January. I'll be also in Ethiopia to meet with the Equal Trade Alliance team. Before starting, like usual, I would like to ask God to support us again and be with us this evening, inspire us, give us energy, and give us its wisdom. We will have a short session today because we are preparing for the next session something really important. Something happens today in Chad, in N'Djamena. There were protests against the militaries who don't want to leave the power. So they are the promised transition, peaceful transition this month, but it didn't happen. So people were not happy. They went on street. And there have been up to 30 young people killed today in Chad, in N'Djamena. So I'm a bit sad. And you remember last time I told you there is another way for change in Africa, a peaceful way. That's what I'm fighting for. That's what all our big family of Swahili Nation is fighting for, because we are tired of conflicts in Africa. So the next session, I'm trying now to get in touch with different leaders of those civil societies movement in African countries and get them here and discuss about how can we bring the change peacefully without any violence, just by demanding equal trade. So that will be the next session. We're working on it. The session today is just to take you a little bit back on what we have discussed the first time. It was a long session. I have presented you the equal trade concept, the solution to end poverty in Africa in our lifetime. And in the same way, because it's going to be a grassroots movement starting from all 55 African countries, it will be also the fastest way to unified Africa. So let me go back, because repeating things is very important for people to remember and to understand what we are fighting for. So I have a few slides to show you, take you back, and I've added one or two just to make this very clear. So let me start by telling you about this unequal trade system that keeps African countries in poverty. Today I'm again with my brother Paul. He's helping and is excellent in doing that. Last time we discussed about one raw materials involved in the international trade, namely the cocoa beans from Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, and Ivory Coast, of course. As you can see here, the biggest part of the world production of cocoa beans belongs to African countries. And I also told you it wasn't only about the quantity, but also about the quality. We produce the best cocoa from the whole world. More than 70% coming from Africa. I've also told you about the global chocolate market, financial value of it. So in 2020, it was about $130 billion, US dollars. And according to calculation, prediction, in 2028, it will reach out to 420 billions annually, made from one raw materials from one African country. You have also seen the shares, the redistribution of share on this cocoa supply chain, wherein you can see that farmers in Africa only get 6% of the whole value. And this 6% doesn't go directly to farmers. It goes through governments, and then governments give something to farmers, which is far less than the 6%. And you can also see here that most of the money goes to retailers, to manufacturers, or processing companies, and also marketing companies. And I was making a joke that those are people who even don't know how a cocoa tree looks like, but they make their life out of it. It was also about the cocoa farmers, how much they get concretely. It's less than €1 a day. Far, far below the minimum revenue in the calculation of the World Bank when it comes to poverty level. So this is far beyond the official poverty level. I've added this for you. You can see a Ghanaian woman working, harvesting this cocoa. They work very hard like this all day. And on the other side, you can see a shop where they sell chocolate in Europe. And I can assure you, these women are not making less than €1 a day. You can see in the body language. That is the real situation. African women, when it comes to gender equality, which is very important for NGOs going to Africa. So this is how women work in these cocoa plantations. And on the other side of the sea, you have happy women selling chocolate for a very high price, making life out of this, and when they retire, they have enough money to continue living at a high standard. You remember this also. The revenue from Ghana, $100 million, and at world level, we are talking about a business of multi-billions business, 130. And I also told you about this story of the Netherlands, who only make some finished products, but still making $20 billion every year. So equal trade means that this money should be redistributed between Ghana and the Netherlands and the world market. And that is what we call equal trade. The trade, the way it's going now, we can all just call it monkey business. You get 100 million and the other partners get 20 billion and the next one 130. So at least 8 or 10 billion should go back to Ghana because the cocoa beans are the most important element in the whole value chain. Without cocoa beans, you can make any chocolate. You can make any 20 billions. Neither 130 billions. So it's time to redistribute the revenue made at the end of the value chain. This is what equal trade means concretely. We are talking about redistribution of the benefit made at the end of the value chain. And if we apply this to all African raw materials, we just can eradicate poverty from Africa. So this is what we should fight for, instead of fighting for democracy, instead of fighting for human rights. This is basic human rights that are being violated, keeping people in poverty. It's even an intergenerational poverty because children of poor farmers will end up in poverty. And that is what equal trade is all about. We need to make the step to this level. So next time, like I told you when we started, next time I will invite few leaders of this civil society's movement, organizing very big protests in Africa to ask for regime change, to ask for democracy. I want them to understand that there is a peaceful way of changing the situation in Africa. And the fastest way of doing it is to stop losing all this revenue. So that was the cocoa bean. This is another example just for tonight. It's about shea nuts used in the cosmetica and food industry. Again, you can see that Africa is only providing the raw materials. And when it comes to the European market or the European Free Trade Association, that is an intergovernmental organization who promotes free trade and economic integration between Norway, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, and Iceland. That is where the processing takes place. That is where the really profits start being made. And then you can see what is happening. This shea butter is been used in food industry and also in cosmetica. Why am I talking about this specific raw material? Because it's only been produced in Africa, in West Africa, Nigeria, Mali, Burkina Faso, Togo. Those are the countries that are producing shea nuts. And then it goes to food industry and cosmetica. The point is that nobody in Europe is aware of how shea butter has been used in different industries. And in Africa, the most farmers, cooperative, all these women working in this sector are also not aware. It's coming slowly, people know a bit about it, but it is a kind of invisible raw material generating also a billions, multi-billions dollar business. But at the end of the day, Africa gets still less than 5% of all these revenues made at the end of the value chain. So equal trade will mean, again, what is being made at the end of this value chain. So you can easily imagine the cosmetica industry. All women in the world are using it. Men also. The food industry. It's been used in all kinds of food. And that is huge, huge business. And Africa is missing all this revenue because we still don't have this equal trade system. And that's where we are fighting for. So I've told about this last time, how this trade system imposed to Africa, how unequal it was, and all the consequences of it. The consequences of extreme poverty in Africa, like migration. I remember my brother Mika was talking today about African students going abroad, and when they graduate in the US, in Europe, they stay there. They don't want to go back to Africa. So through this system, we are not only giving away our raw materials, but also our intelligentsia. These students, university students, are crucial for Africa, for the development of Africa. But the most of them going abroad don't go back to Africa. And that's a huge problem. So the solution is equal trade. Last time I've told you about these corporate social responsibilities initiatives only means to reach higher yields, the fair trade again, giving farmers a bit more money at the farm gate. It doesn't change anything in the financial situation of farmers or states in Africa. So the solution we are bringing on the table that should be used by all African governments in negotiation with partners coming for trade in Africa is the Equal Trade Certification, in which African farmers, African government become shareholders of manufacturers, of processing companies, and retailers. At those three levels, we should get our money back. That is what is here. So trading and processing companies, manufacturing into end products, and retails. Of course, we will need to build a system around this to create transparency. But those are things that will happen when we will get ready. When we will start putting the pressure on European government, on multinationals from all these trade partners of Africa, Europe, the United States, China, and all the others. Before we are there, we will have a complete system of this certification in place and how the money should be redistributed to African people. Okay, that was a bit the recap. So I told you today, if you have questions, let's just discuss. I will answer those questions. And then if you have comments, it will appear in the comment bulk, and then we can talk about it. So today we keep it short. I just wanted to keep your memory fresh by remembering you this concept. What do we think and how it's going to happen? That will be something for the next session. But I can already say here, and I've already said it, this can only happen if we succeed in setting up a grassroots movement all over Africa. And I'm very happy to announce that today we have the 27th country joining the movement. And in all those countries, we are setting up core teams. And those core teams will work on setting up operational teams with different tasks. So that will be the subject of the third of the fourth session. We will do this very transparent because we need you to get involved in it. We cannot do this alone. We need all our brothers and sisters in Africa, in the diaspora, and the friends, the real friends of Africa, in Europe, in the United States, all over the world. So that will be discussed when we have like the third session. The fourth session will be about the organization. At that time, we will already have our new website, and then you will see people representing us. The plan is to have Addis Ababa as in Ethiopia as headquarters of the movement in Africa, and in each region of Africa, we will have one hub working on mobilizing the whole region. So in West Africa, that will be Ivory Coast, Ghana, sorry. In Central Africa, we have the operational team in Ghana. In East Africa, it will be two countries combined, Kenya and Tanzania. And in Southern Africa, that will be South Africa itself, but also Botswana. We have a team operating in Botswana. They started 1 month ago. And in North Africa, because I can imagine you're thinking now, we are not counting North Africa, but North Africa is 100% part of Africa. So we are thinking about Egypt or Morocco. One of those two countries will have our hub, and from there mobilize people in the whole region. So that's what's coming next, but I'm waiting that the website is ready. We have a wonderful web designer now in Accra, Ghana, working on it. So very soon you can go to the website and start being active on our social media. These are policy pillars. We discussed it already last time. So I stopped the presentation here. It was to refresh your memory about the concept, and we can move now to questions or comments, and let's be interactive, and maybe we can get the new ideas together how to move from here forward. So Paul, if you have already questions or comments, you can share. Otherwise, thank you, Person Cat. It's a great. Do you have any question or you want to say something? That is also possible. If someone wants to join and talk, it's possible. Just let us know, and then Paul will let you in. If you really think you have something to say that could help this movement, please join. I like this. It's like waiting for question or comments, and then it gives you time to also think about new things to say. So remember what's happened today in Chad. I was really completely sad all day, but now we are talking. I like to see increased partnership with diaspora Africans. Yes, exactly. And it's depend on all of us. You all have network all over the world. So just let them know that we are here and we are waiting, and we are not going to wait for them. We are approaching them actively to get them involved, because the diaspora can play a crucial role in this. I am a diaspora. I don't like the name, but okay, it's like that. I'm in the Netherlands, but from the Netherlands, I have managed to set up this whole movement by working together with other African diaspora in Europe, for example. We have students in Italy. They have set up the movement in Italy. We have students in Germany. They have set up the movement in Germany. So in the Netherlands itself, we work with a lot of African students with the message like, don't think about staying in Europe. We need to go back. And then partnership with Caribbean and US African, exactly. By the way, next week or in between now and 2 weeks, we are working on a new program to present this concept to Caribbean diaspora in the Netherlands. So you're completely right. All of them are important for this movement. We need to do this together. And like I said last time, the mobilization will also target European organizations, not only European students or young people, but also European organizations claiming that they are fighting for living incomes for Africans. They want to fight against poverty. So they should join this fight together with us, because this can eradicate poverty completely. Yes, that is the same problem in all African countries. Most of them have, like I said, during the first session, each African country is full of raw materials, and not only from agriculture, but when you talk about gold, oil, coal, in all this country, you can find something that is very important for the industry all over the world. So exactly, Chad. Now, today I told you they have killed 30 young people who were just dreaming about having a country where they can live in peace and have a good standard of living. They have all these raw materials there, but now they are fighting for democracy. And I will really get one of them during the next session and have a direct discussion instead of asking this military to move because they think they are strong. We can ask them, okay, show up how strong you are. Take equal trade on the negotiation table with France, with China, with the United States of America. Instead of asking them to leave the office, and because they don't want to go back in poverty, they start killing people to remain on power, which is completely illegal. So you're completely right. These are issues we should discuss with the civil societies organization in Africa, from Africa, and try to redirect their effort for liberation of Africa. It has to be peaceful. There is no reason to use violence for this change. What's happened in Mali, for example, now they want to have French people out. They have managed to do it. The French army have left the country. Now they are going to Benin. They are going to Niger. But they could have told France, you can stay here, but we just want equal trade. You take our uranium, you put it on the whole world market for electricity, for medical care. So you just give us our money back, and then you can stay, no problem. Of course, without army, because we don't want any foreign army in Africa. African Americans are in the center of liquidity and direct market access, which will help with transparent pricing of resources. Yes, that's why we need them to join the movement. And I remember we have a network there. There is an organization. They are very brilliant. The name is The Sky is Black. I think, Paul, you remember them. So let's try to invite them also in this show to discuss with them, because it is also an issue for American to understand, Black American to understand that. So as if Africa doesn't change from this weak position to a strong position, racism and all the discrimination against Black people all over the world will just continue. It's because Africa is weak. We don't have any backup. Nobody can stand up when something happened to a Black person in this world because Africa is weak. So Black Americans should join this fight. You're very right. Who is joining us?
Yeah, this is my normal channel is MG2, but
brother, happy to see you.
Oh, it's good to see you, my friend. Oh my goodness gracious, I am loving this conversation, Swahili Nation. Thank you guys so much. I can't stop smiling. You guys,
come in, just shout.
You guys just made my day. I mean, totally made my day.
Okay.
Yeah, I was earlier this morning. I did a report on what happened in Chad, and then I was looking at the natural resources that were there, and at the top of the list was oil and coal.
Yes.
And you see what's happening in Europe.
Yeah.
You know, you notice how Europeans, because of this energy nonsense that's going on over there that that they're going to do anything to be desperate to get whatever resource they can on the cheap. And of course, without transparent pricing, I had posted that in the channel under another name, another channel I have. Because of the fact that there's no transparent pricing on the African market, in the African markets, the bid-ask spread is extremely wide. So you can arbitrage just about anything. And a lot of that is because of poor governance. A lot of that is because there's not really a lot of information in terms of what their actual pricing models are. So what I'm proposing with a lot of African nations is even if it's just remotely or whatever, but a small conference of being able to set basically a mechanism or some kind of consortium to where Africa could actually get total transparent pricing, direct access of exactly where pricing models are for whether it's for agriculture, mining, or anything else, aluminum. It doesn't matter. So others cannot exploit that because there's a lot of arbitrage opportunities in Africa because of the fact that we don't have direct access. Well, I've been living in the United States forever. I was born here, so so of course, being what they would call, I don't call myself that, but what they would say African American. We have actually direct access not only to the information but the connectivity of getting things to the market, out of the market. We also could have direct access to pure pricing or what fair market value would be. And so therefore, if somebody wants to arbitrage and exploit Africans, we could let our folks know, hey, this is not going to be the case. You could make better deals and actually not be exploited. And the next thing is good is I'd like to set up proposals for a consortium of young folks that are into mining and agriculture, because those are the biggest things, or mining, agriculture, and energy. Those are the most important things right now Africa to concentrate on, especially the fact that they're finding, I think it might be either Ghana or Benin, they're looking at possibility of lithium reserves. Wherever there's a possibility of lithium reserves, you're going to have pirates and scoundrels like Elon Musk and the rest of them. You've got Freeport-McMoRan, you've got, what's the name, Anglo, I can't remember the other mining company. You've got all these different mining companies. The first thing they're going to do is say, we need to get there. And I think it's Mozambique, or it was something I read the other day. It was either Mozambique or, oh gosh, it's going to drive me nuts. They just found out that there's a possibility of lithium. And so they're just like, and it's a Brazilian, and it was a Freeport-McMoRan, a Brazilian, and I can't remember the other company.
Australia, I think, yeah.
I'm sorry?
Australia. They were also,
it might have been,
yes.
Yeah, and they said, so what my proposal is to getting these young folks very involved in all aspects of the chain, from the supply chain as well as into the investment chain in terms of, and not like they're going to invest, even if they want to, it's cool, but to know what the pricing models are. Because these other non-African nations, Arab nations, European nations, Asian nations, whatever, now Hispanic nations over there like, Argentina, you name it, they're arbitraging and literally basically destroying any aspect that Africa can have. One, to control our resources. Number two, to actually benefit from it. And number three, to go ahead and make sure that we control it. And one of the things I want to do in this consortium is actually create what I would call a quote unquote shadow resource government. Because a lot of the governance in Africa, especially if you see the model that African Americans have gone through, unfortunately, in terms of governance, we've had no real governance. We like to look at the so-called black leaders like Farrakhan or Jesse Jackson. God bless them; they're doing their best they can, but there hasn't been any aspect of governance. And I would like to set that consortium with these young folks to have their own quote unquote shadow governance, so that way they're monitoring the resource. More importantly, they're securing the resource. And when I say shadow governance, they're governing what's going on, what's leaving, what's coming in, and finding and stepping up their ability to go ahead and protect it. Because if not, then the same status quo that happened in America with so-called lack of governance, because we haven't had black governance probably since Malcolm X, if you could even say that, probably since Marcus Garvey. We hadn't had an industrial form or an industrialized form of black governance probably since since Marcus Garvey left. So I would like to see that to where young folks on the continent could, again, and with all the connectivity of internet and everything, Now it's a lot easier for folks to communicate to say, hey,
Right.
I'm living in I'm living in, whether it's Eswatini or I'm living in Kenya or I'm living in Angola, and I'm seeing
It
what's
doesn't
happening with the
matter
mining
anymore.
sector.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and you can communicate with folks in Ghana. Say, okay, let's set up a mechanism to monitor what these Chinese are doing or whatever somebody's doing. Now, we're going to monitor, but we're going to make plans for us to take over those industries. So therefore, we're not subjected to Chinese selling something. They're going in and mining things and tearing up our land on the cheap, you know, because we have a government that's not really, you know, on top of exactly what the pricing is. And then
No.
the Chinese or the Arabs or whoever else is selling it, you know, 8 times the worth, and they're coming in and exploiting, you know, everything that we have. So I would like to set up these type of proposals for like consortiums, you know,
Yes.
that our own version of an African Union, for lack of a better term, that's more centered upon agriculture, mining, and energy. So I just wanted to put that out there. Sorry for being too loquacious, but I just wanted to kind of, you know, table that just for food for thought.
Yeah, thank you so much, brother, because everything you're saying is just right, you know. And concerning this energy transition at this moment, all they need for the energy transition, like lithium, it's all in Africa, you know. And like you said, as soon as they discover something, you see these companies getting on the ground and starting exploiting it. And the second thing you said, which is really, really important, that's what we also called the Equal Trade Academic Alliance, like doing research from the upstream of any value chain till the downstream of it. And then we can know exactly about this pricing mechanism. We can know about the ways they are making at the end, the profit they are making at the end. And I really believe we can, if we work together, that's also the third thing I would like to add on what you said. It's really brilliant what you are bringing in. We should start seeing ourselves as leaders and stop looking at what's happening in Africa from an observer position. Like, oh, I see this happening. I know this is, let me research. We can be leaders in Africa. We are leaders already by taking this kind of initiative. And it will be so great to create this consortium you're talking about. We are ready for it. So just let's talk after the show, anytime, let's work together, because you guys in the United States are so important for this change in Africa. But then there is also a lot of awareness creation needed to let them understand that Africa is our savior. If Africa becomes strong, all Black people all over the world will get respect we deserve. But because of the situation in Africa at this moment, nobody takes us serious. And you're completely right. I'll be very happy to have a private conversation, and let's link our effort. Let's do this together.
I would love that. Is it possible to get through? Would I have to go to Swahili Nation to go ahead and you know get, I guess, through the email through them?
Yes.
Okay.
Paul can give you my email and then my phone number. Anything you need, just let's get in touch and start working. It's very, very important. Believe me, we need to sit down and strategically put this thing together. And then nothing will stop us. We need to create something that nobody can stop. That's very important. And that can only happen if we are united. And because you told about, you spoke about Marcus Garvey, you know, this is the grassroots movement I'm talking about, taking it really from the basic. In each African country, mobilize the youth, mobilize these farmers, cooperatives, this producer, bring them together, and then do it together at one time. 55 countries standing up and asking.
Exactly. I got to thinking, when you know that because of what happened in Ukraine, that they were talking about how Africa didn't have, you know, wheat. And the thing about the African continent is you could throw a seed anywhere and it'll grow instantly. So clearly there's no problem, growing whatever it is that we need to grow. And the beautiful thing about it is to set up agricultural banks to where there's money being transferred from African Americans to Africa. So therefore, there's, even on a, like you said, on a grassroots scale, same thing with mining, to set up these cooperatives to where, because there's a lot of liquidity, in America, there's for Black folks in America, there's a lot of liquidity. And one of the major things is the disconnect from Africans on diaspora in the United States and in Africa that are in Africa. By setting up these regional banks, there's an ability for one, educating, because even though that there's no real school of mines that a lot of Africans go to in America, it's mostly occupied by whites, Asians, and others. It's not like we couldn't create our own school of mines, because Africans are doing most of the mining anyways for other agencies, whether it's for Chinese or whatever. So the knowledge is there. The thing is to be able to subsidize them, to be able to take that knowledge and work for self. So the Africans that are working, whether it's in Zambia, or whether it's in Tanzania, or whether it's in Mozambique or Namibia, whoever's doing the mining, they're not mining for Chinese anymore, because basically it's almost like what happened to a lot of Black folks in the United States. It's like sharecropping, but yet but there is no it's basically a modern day version of sharecropping that's happening on the African continent. So I would love to propose all kinds of, just a lot of ideas, just throwing it out there. And especially when I talk about agricultural and resource and energy banks. What I mean by that is having enough money, being able, or enough resource, whether it's money, liquidity, information, leverage, whatever it is, to where, to where we can start acquiring separate from government, because of course government is going to, there's too much, for lack of a better term, misgovernance in Africa, period, or with African people globally. And it's not like a bad thing. It's just something that's unfortunate that we're living at this modern time. So the thing is to be able to have these resource banks that are set up, that are separate from any kind of governance or any kind of government regulation or monitoring. And the beautiful thing about it is this event of what they call digital assets, i.e. crypto or whatever else. Now there's other ways to go ahead, and to be able to have banking, payment, and credit that Africans can use, to where we start to acquire the land and acquire the materials to actually mine, the machinery to go ahead and mine, and the machinery to go ahead and harvest, the machinery to go ahead and make sure that we're able to get those energy resources, natural gas, oil, coal, or whatever, out of the ground. So this is wonderful. Like I said, you guys have made my day. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and listen to you guys offline. I thank you so much. I'm very loquacious, but I do thank you guys tremendously. And I'll listen offline.
And you just get my email and my phone number, and let's talk later. That is great. And last thing, please remember that through this collaboration, if we come together from the United States, the African diaspora there, you guys, all of you, can help putting the pressure on the American Congress, because we are here in Europe. We're going to put a lot of pressure on European government, but the American Congress cannot escape to this also. We need you guys to put the pressure on them. It was interesting, Paul. Do you have other comments or questions? The time goes so fast. It's already almost an hour. We still have 10 minutes. So great. Who needs wheat? Steph is more nutritious. Yeah, that is very good. And these are, that's what I was calling last time, the bio-based industrialization of Africa. We can innovate a lot of things in Africa. The way we are doing agriculture can be innovated. The way we are thinking about industry can be innovated. So you are completely right. And if you look at to the European market, they are all crying to get gluten-free products. And so these are ways of creating wealth by innovating. We don't need to copy the all time, you know, like they are now in trouble saying Africa needs wheat, but we can produce our own healthy food in Africa and export it also outside of Africa. So who needs wheat? I don't know. The ones that are still in this system, they don't know anything else. So we can start producing all this innovative food. It's even not innovative, it's just natural food, but we can increase the production of it and then put it on the world market. This is a very good one. I write it down. And if you like to join, maybe you can make your point. This is how non-African have an edge as they arbitrage due to Africa not having transparent pricing. Yeah, that's true. And that is all about using our brains, and that's what we call the Equal Trade Academic Alliance, involving academics from Africa, from outside of Africa, working on analyzing all this value chain from the upstream till the downstream of it. And then we can know then we can have data that can be used for an efficient advocacy and also develop the policy. And you was mentioning one point, very important, about the policy makers in Africa. There is something, even at that level, awareness creation is very important. Because there are still people in Africa who don't understand how rich Africa is and how much are we losing in this trade system. Even our own leaders, sometimes they just don't know it. So this awareness creation is also targeting African leaders. Great work. African people need fair distribution of resources and wealth in the world. Africa to be united. Thank you very much, Zibina. That is Ethiopia. That's why I love Ethiopian people. They are really fighters. So like I told you, I'm coming your way. I'm on my way to go to Ethiopia. So I will be there, and then our first team is in Ethiopia. So it's getting bigger and bigger every day. Thank you very much for appreciating our effort. Hey, Marit, nice to see you. Why don't you join us and tell us something? People want to hear you. Ukraine wants us to be dependent on wheat. Yeah, it's or Ukraine or ourselves. You know, it's our system. Because there was a research done by the World Bank itself in 2008 already, or a bit before that. There are evidence that in 11 or 12 African countries, you can produce wheat, and sometimes without irrigation even. And Ethiopia is one of those countries. So we have enough land to produce wheat for the whole world. Ukraine is a very small country compared to Sudan. Ukraine is very small compared to Congo, compared to Egypt. So we can produce much more than the whole world together. And that's something, but that's why is unity in policy making so important. This should be Pan-African project. Okay, we are going to produce wheat for the world. But then you don't need to discuss with the government of Tanzania or with the government of Benin. It has to happen because we have land for it. So this is very interesting. And the people are playing with it. playing with us because we are still in the position of the president of Senegal went to Russia to ask Putin, please, you need to release these boats with weight, otherwise African people are going to die from starvation. It doesn't make any sense, but because we are not producing enough for ourselves, it's very difficult to be strong, you know. So our leaders themselves, they are in a very weak position, because if people controls you with food, then they control your whole life, and we shouldn't let it happen. Africa can feed the whole world without any problem in healthy food. So why don't we do that? No, I didn't get your question. Marit, where is your question? Paul, where is Marit's questions? I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Everyone can see and hear you. I missed one question. I need to answer, Marit. And Ethiopia is one of the largest wheat producers. So if you add Sudan, you add Botswana, you add Guinea, you add Benin, you add even Congo can produce wheat. So we can have 100 times more produced than a product than Ukraine. Okay, Marit, maybe you can ask your question again because I can't see it. Maybe in the comment. Music. Let me see. Oh. Before I start, you had a question. How do I get there, Paul? Can you see it maybe? I can't see your question. Did you get my question yet, Max? Not. So maybe you should ask it again, then. Are you still there, Marit? So these are very interesting remarks, like when it comes to agriculture, there are a lot of effort done by the African Union. They have good policies and good plans. All we need is our one financial means to do it. And that's why is equal trade so important. Because we can get a lot of financial back to Africa that can be invested in agriculture. So it's strategic. We are not asking for equal trade just like this. It's because we need this money to reinvest in social infrastructure, in agriculture, in healthcare, in education, in all those kind of things, and then take Africa to the next level. And the only way to do this is to do it together. It can never happen from only one country, because it's very easy for the Western world to destabilize any African country. For them, it's not a problem. It's just a meeting, and then they decide, and then you are in trouble. But if we are 55 countries, nobody can destabilize an whole continent. It's just not possible. So we have solutions, but we need to have the tools to realize those solutions. And equal trade is one of the tools. Next to unity, next to a different way of thinking, a different way of looking at each other, and stop thinking, I am a Ghanaian, I am an Ethiopian, I am a Nigerian. We should just forget about that. We are African, and Africa is one. The whole world use the word Africa when it comes to Africa, except African themselves. We should take this out of our mind, these artificial borders. They don't make any sense. Not now, not for the future. Because if we continue like this, there won't be no future for Africa. So I still can see the question of Marit. What's going on? Let me see. Maybe here. Not yet. It's familiar. Let me try. Maybe now. Not yet. Israeli Nation. I'll be back in a few minutes, dear family. Okay. Oh yeah. Yes. What is your idea on direct trade? Yes, direct trade. Okay, now I've seen your question. I think you mean selling, like using this a new concept, like product can be sold directly to the market, the producer. When you think about agricultural products, people can buy it all over the world, and the money goes directly to the farmer. That is also very good. There are initiatives about it already, and that could also be a kind of solution to allow farmers and producer of agricultural product to get more fair price. But it also asks to add value in Africa already, because it will be difficult for people to buy just raw materials. If it's happened, it will be like dealing from this multinational. They already have so many agreements with African countries. It will be then difficult. And like I said last time, African governments are owners of raw materials. So that could be the only challenge. But for processed products, so if you can add value in Africa, it could be very easy to put it on the world market. I'm happy I've seen your question. Okay. Marit is gone because she has something to do. So direct trade is possible, and it can help a lot. But we need to go to equal trade. That will make this also easier to have this direct trade, because you can add value in Africa itself already, like making semi-finished products, or the example I was talking about, these shea nuts, you can process them for cosmetica. Those kind of industry can be realized now in Africa. And then we are owner of the whole production. And you can do it in a very clean way. For those kind of industries, very possible. And then you don't need equal trade. But for other raw materials, it will be needed first to go through equal trade and then reinvest in bio-based industrialization. So, brothers and sisters, this was again a very nice session. I love it, having being in touch with you. And next time we will take more time because then we are going to have these activists on table to discuss about solutions, how to change this trade system. It's our main objective to have equal trade in place between now and maximum 3-5 years. It will be like the only way to deal with Africa. And I was also happy to have met a brother from the United States of America, because we need the African diaspora over there. They can help taking this movement in the United States and then put the pressure also on the American Congress, because they are the one controlling Europe. So if we can create this power in the United States of America, Europe will be very easy to convince. Thank you also, brother, and let's thank God for this beautiful session we had tonight again, and thank him also for the next session that are coming. Thanking him for blessing us every day, giving us energy and the strength to go on, because this fight will not be easy. But with the faith in God, we will realize it. So thank you, God. We are your children. I know you love us, but it's also important that we love you more and more, because you are the only one who will allow this change to happen peacefully. So brothers and sisters, I wish you a wonderful night, and I'll see you next week again at the same time. God bless you all.